All right, today we are learning fractions, or what we say, part of a whole. Okay? So when we talk about fractions, we talk about parts of something that it would take to make a whole. Okay, I just repeated what I said. Awesome. When we look at fractions, we often look at a fraction like this. Please, if you are in class, take this note. 3/4. We have special math language. The top number we call a numerator. The bottom number we call the denominator. The denominator is what we say how many parts it takes to make a whole. To make something whole. The numerator up top is how many parts you have of that. Okay? So when we talk about how many parts it makes to make something whole, we can think of the banana we had at breakfast today. Everybody, if you ordered breakfast, you got half a banana, right? How many bananas would it take to make a whole? 2, perfect. So if we were looking at bananas, right, it takes 2 parts to make a whole. If you have 2, you have a whole banana. You guys don't have 2 parts though. In your breakfast, there was 1 of 2. So you had half a banana, or 1 of 2. Okay? Pretty simple, pretty easy. It takes 2 parts to make a whole banana. You had 1 of the 2. Unless you ended up somehow getting 2 lunches, then you had 2 of 2 and you ate a whole banana. Okay? So that's what we're talking about when we talk fractions. We have a numerator, we have a denominator. The denominator tells you how many parts you need to make a whole, and the top tells you how many parts you actually have. Yes?
Isn't mixed numbers another way of multiplication and division, basically?
We're going to talk about that in a second. Because there's 3 ways that we can represent fractions. And what we're going to eventually get to doing is talking about how fractions are related to decimals and percents. But for today, we're going to talk about the 3 ways fractions are represented. Most of the time, up until now, you've been looking at what we call a proper fraction, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator, right? If we were to represent that in a picture form, it would look something like this. We'd say, okay, here is a rectangle. Let's cut it in half, right? And then each of these is going to be cut there. So if we said this is a picture form, it takes 6 to make a whole, because that's what it says on the bottom. 5, 6. So we said, okay, we're going to color in 5 of those. So we've got 5 of 6. Okay? If we were to break up our pizza, we got a pizza that's got 6 slices. I'm super hungry. I'm eating 5, and I'm leaving 1 slice left. Okay? Because, you know, my brother's coming over and he wants to have some pizza too, but I'm just so hungry I eat 5, he's got 1. So I've eaten 5 of the 6 pieces and he gets to eat 1 of the 6. Okay? So this is what we know most of the time. We call it proper fractions. The next one we're looking at is how we represent as mixed numbers. Mixed numbers is a little bit different because there's a proper fraction, but beside it is a bigger number. Anyone have any idea what the bigger number means? Yep.
It's a whole.
It's a whole?
Like it's, so there's 1 that's 2 out of 3.
Yep.
There's 2 that are 3 out of 3. So it's 2 wholes and 2.
So when we look at the part that says 3, we know that we have something that has to be broken up into thirds. Right? As Olivia has said, this number tells you how many holes you already have. So if we were to write this fraction out, it would look something like this. We're going to write, there's our 2 holes that represent the 2 on the side, because we have 2 holes, and then we're going to write 2 of 3. Okay? So we've got our 2 holes that go on the side, 2, and then 2 of 3 more. We know that it takes 3 to make 1 hole. Okay? Here we've got 2 holes and 2 of 3. Now, our next one is what we call an improper fraction. Improper fraction is where our numerator is bigger than the denominator. When we see something like this, it looks like this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 out of 4. Okay? How does our improper fraction connect to our mixed number? How are they related? Kason?
It's just not adding the whole numbers.
So, an improper fraction is the same as this, but instead of having the whole numbers on the sides, they're added into our top. So, we could write 6 over 4 as... How could we write 6 over 4 as a mixed number? Katie?
1 and then 2 over 4.
Okay, so she says 1 and 2 over 4. How did she get that, Olivia?
Because 4 can only go into 6 one time, and then there's 2 left over.
So when we look at this, we said something is a whole if the numerator and the denominator are equal. So we could say 3 over 3 equals 1. 4 over 4 equals 1. 127 over 127 equals 1. Right? So if you have 6 over 4, and Cruz knows that 4 over 4 is 1, how many do you have left over to get to 6 if you've got 4? 4, 5, 6. You have 2 left over. So if you say 1 and 2, 4, that's the same as saying 6 over 4. They're the same. If we wanted to write 2 and 2/3 as an improper fraction, how could we do it? Because this is part of what we're going to have to practice today. Converting from an improper fraction to a proper fraction, and an improper fraction to a mixed number, going back and forth. We're going to have to do part of that today in our practice work. So how can I make this an improper fraction? Yeah?
8 over 3.
Why do you think it would be 8 over 3?
Because all the colored in spots are 8, and then it's all 3 for all of them.
So if you drew it out in a picture and did this, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 3. That makes sense. Yep. Right? Just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or we could say it's 1 whole and 2 fourths. Right? Same idea. Is there another way we can figure it out? Yeah?
You could multiply 3 by 2 and then add the other 2.
So this is a trick that lots of people use if you want to convert. If you want to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction, lots of people will do this. They'll say, well, if there's 2 wholes, I can multiply that by the bottom number, the denominator, and then I just add the top. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2, 8 over 3. Right? And it doesn't matter. You could do that for anything. If we had, let's say we had the number, let's say we had 4 and 1/4. Right? If we want to put this into an improper fraction, I would say 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 1, 17 over 4. Right? Or you could do it like this. You could go, well, okay, so there's 4 over 4, 4 over 4, 4 over 4, 4 over 4, and 1 over 4. Whenever I have all the same denominators, I can just add them up. 4, 8, 12, 16, 17. Okay, 17 over 4. You could do it out that way, but this is the easy way. our whole numbers multiplied by our denominator, because we know that it has to be 4 out of 4, right? To make 1. So we can take our whole numbers multiplied by our denominator, then you add the numerator, and that's what gives you your top. Okay? That's a trick you can use. There's other ways you can figure it out, mental math. Which fraction's bigger? I want you to think about that right now. We've got 1/4 or 3/6. 1/4 or 1/4 or 3/6. I want you to think in your mind which fraction is bigger. Which fraction is bigger? Okay? So, how many people, just by a show of hands, put it up, think 1/4 is bigger? How many people think 3/6 is bigger? Okay, all right, hands down. I'm going to let everyone know that you're all wrong. You are all wrong. Everyone told me 3/6 is bigger. Katie, 3/6 of what? 3/6 of what? What's it of? Kason, you know what it's of?
But it's basically a half.
Well, we say it's a half, right. But what is it a half of?
Half of a whole?
Half of a whole, okay. But what is the whole? This is what's important when you are looking at fractions. Because most of the time, if we're just looking at numbers, we would say, okay, 3/6 is bigger
Wait, don't tell us yet.
than 1/4.
Another one. No, it's-
But this is 3/6 of an ant. And this is 1/4 of a car. So now what's bigger? This is, right? 1/4 of a car is bigger than half an ant.
Do another one.
But it's important, if someone says to you, what fraction's bigger, you say, of what? What is it a fraction of? Right? Because most of the time, if we were just looking at these as numbers, yes, we could compare them and say this would be a bigger number, but fractions are a part of something. Right? They're a part of something. Whether it's a part of the pizza, whether it's the part of the Kit Kat bar, whether it's a part of my body. Yes, I'm a zombie. Oh! Oh! My body's broken into 4 parts. Oh! I lose my leg. Oh, there it goes. Ah! Ah! What? How much of my body have I lost? 1/4. A quarter. How much is left?
1/4.
Ah, 3/4. Ah! Do your math practice. Ah!